Good afternoon, my fellow Americans. Thank you for tuning in once again to another episode of Ralston Speaks. Well, as we all know, it's been quite a period of turmoil these last several hours across many cities of our country. I'd like to commend the city of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, for conducting a dignified, peaceful, organized protest. Anything less, anything that would cause harm to structures where we once shopped, currently live, were once employed, is counterproductive to our cause. And it's especially sad when people from other communities go into neighboring communities to incite riot. And it's even sadder for certain parties to pay people to incite riots, to compound the negative stereotypes already cast upon our people. That being said, we have to think on a broader scale, my brothers and sisters. We have to think farther into the future than what's in front of our faces. So that brings us to how to get this idiot out of office. Because I, for one, during the last election, was confident that he had lost. Went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and found that he had actually, allegedly won. Well, that brings me to the topic for today, voting. Are we all registered to vote? Because I'm sure a lot of you believe, like I used to believe, that no matter what candidate is in office, our plight will never change. These candidates will vie for our votes, and when they're elected into office by our votes, they forget everything they ever promised us, and it's business as usual for us anyway. Well, I can tell you that's how I used to believe, but now, as the years have gone by, I do see change. And if there's no change in our lifetime, we have to hope that there will be change in our children's and children's children's lifetimes. And it was actually my mother who brought that point to my attention. So what I did today, and I just want you all to know that I'm not just here talking and not putting my words to action. Today, I went on scvotes.org. I scrolled down to poll worker information. I then scrolled down to apply to be a poll manager. I am now a poll manager in the county in which I live. Now, what does a poll manager do? Well, the first person you'll meet when you enter your polling location is a polling clerk. A polling clerk will greet you at the door and direct you in the proper direction that you need to go. Now, in the past, another topic we would discuss this afternoon is voter suppression. Voter suppression is very active in inner city communities around the United States. It's a way to disqualify people, if you might want to say, disqualify people from actually being able to vote at the right time in the right place. So a polling clerk or a polling manager will to influence voting in his party, will obviously Republican, so he will to influence the number of votes in his party. His or her party will ask a potential voter, do you have 2 or 3 forms of identification? And most of us do not. So of course it'll be a no. Then I'm sorry, you cannot vote today. That is actually not true, but these are actual factual occurrences that have happened predominantly in the South in the past number of years. It's called voter suppression. Well, just for your information, you need one form of identification as long as it's valid. Either it be a passport with the passport card, a non-driver's identification card as long as it's not expired, a driver's license as long as it's not expired, military ID, or voter registration card. That is it. If you have one of those forms of identification, you are allowed to vote. Now, some more rules that are implemented in a polling location is no one is allowed to campaign within 200 feet of a polling location. You can't stand in the doorway and say, well, I hope you're voting Republican. Greetings, my name is such and such and such and such. No, he has to remain 200 feet outside of the perimeter of that polling location so that when you enter the doorway of your polling location, it is a neutral zone. There will be nothing. There will be no candidate emblems, stickers, posters inside. The polling manager cannot influence your vote in any way. He cannot ask you what your political affiliation is. The only thing he or she can do is scan your driver's license if you're displaying a driver's license, or confirm the expiration date and the photograph on any other identification card that you choose to display. So, onward to the next topic. Our next topic is going to be Blackout Day 2020. Now, Blackout Day 2020 was originally slated for July 7th, but it's been brought to my attention that there are certain establishments and places of vendors across the country that need to be boycotted today, yesterday, the day before yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we are actually going to get away from saying blackout, blackball, blackmail, because that's something that has been thrown in our laps as being bad, and so we will just say boycott. But our first on the list of boycott is Joseph Cunningham. Well, Joe Cunningham, when he found that Gregory Floyd was brutally murdered by the police officer in Minnesota, he posted on his Facebook page, "Niggers will always be niggers, straight losers, all of them, thieves that deserve their necks stepped on, trash of the world." Well, Mr. Joseph Cunningham, owner of Wraps to Go in Greensboro, North Carolina, we are going to do our best to run you out of business. You will get no business from anyone, man, woman, of child, of color, and apologies will not be accepted. So, once again, that's Joseph Cunningham, the owner of Wraps to Go in Greensboro, North Carolina. Sorry, buddy, but bigotry and racial prejudice is not going to be accepted in this country anymore, and we'll see you go by way of the dinosaur. So, thank you once again for tuning in to another episode of Ralston Speaks. Have a good evening, be safe, and vote.